Hello, good morning, you all. We are very happy to have you all here uh, to our inaugural event of LIPI, Law International Program 2022. I'd like, first of all, to to bring to our room our speakers of this morning, which are Professor Daniele Pampolona and also Professor Person Reck. They are our professors in Law International Program, and we are going to have this chat, this frank, this open chat about the challenges of the advocacy, the business advocacy in this market of this 4.0 market or the contemporary market for the lawyers. So it's really a pleasure to have you all here, the audience and the professors. And we are also here to say why we are having this conversation in English in an international program, which is called LEAP. LEAP was born in 2019 with a mission to, I would say, demystify the idea that law is a local phenomenon. Law can be a local phenomenon, but we are living in a globalized world. And therefore, we have to understand that it's not possible anymore just to have the backgrounds of our local environment. We have to open our minds and to open our knowledge to understand the globalized world. So the idea is to think globally and act locally. And also because it's very important that we think about lifelong learning. We're living longer, and our careers are getting need to be um, to have differentials. So leap could be an interesting differential for your career or for the sustainability of your career, because the world is living and the idea of fast changes. We're living in a new world. We can see this week we have a cyber attack in our system, and we had a lot of challenges to face this week because this cyber attack, because our systems, we had to lock down our systems, and that was really complicated, and it's still. That's why maybe some of you couldn't access the Eventum platform, for example. It's just a small example to say that we are living in a new world, and therefore the advocacy has to be new also. And we brought here those professionals because they are professionals of the advocacy of the future. We brought them to tell us what are their impressions about this advocacy, this new world, by telling us about their career, because their trajectory is the translation of a new world of the advocacy. The main subject of LEAP is business advocacy, which means we understand that we have to recreate the business advocacy for these new challenges by having um, a view of these advocacy skills, these new advocacy skills. I mean, communication and negotiation skills, interviewing, counseling, but also understand what are the impacts, for example, of the human rights in corporations, or even how to manage M&A, merger and acquisitions, or international contracts. These are our subjects of this year in Law International Program. And those professionals and professors that are here, they are very experienced in those subjects, and that's why they are here. I'd like to also, and first of all, to bring Professor Daniele Pamplona to talk to us. She's a full professor of the Stricto Sensu program of PUCPR Law School. She has a postdoctorate in American University in Washington. She's a visiting scholar at Max Planck Institute for Comparative Public Law and coordinator of the Human Rights Clinic PUCPR, lawyer and vice director of the Latin America Academy of Human Rights and Business, and also Professor Person Heck, which is a lawyer and administrator, coordinator of medication and arbitration area at Pironte Advogados, has more than 20 years of experience in the area of business consulting, and represents the national and international groups with emphasis on contractual advisory, negotiations, immigration, and foreign trade sectors. He has a master in LLM and in the University of Miami, and she has also an MBA. So, welcome you both. And let's start with Professor Daniele telling us a little bit about her tra- sorry, her trajectory and what is the impact of this path in her professional life and for this new advocacy, the advocacy of this new era, the era of fast changes and also the era of these new challenges in advocacy and in the world. Welcome, Professor Daniele. We are willing to hear from you.
Thank you, Professor Diaz. Well, first of all, I'd like to thanks for the invitation to be here today. I want to say that it's an honor to be here sharing also with Professor Recking, which is a longtime friend. So I'm really glad to be here this morning. And Professor Diaz, to address your question, I guess I'll have to start telling you a bit about how I got here, right? When we talk about trajectory and how it impacted what I've been doing today, I think this is interesting to understand that sometimes when you are at the law school, you still don't know exactly where you're going to be in 10 or 20 years, but it's also weird to know how and to understand later on how your different concerns right there in the beginning of law school, they translate into something else that you're doing so many years later. And as well, of course, I began at the law school. And when in law school, I was really keen of learning constitutional law. And of course, with that, we have fundamental rights here in Brazil and human rights. But then this was my academic side. As a practitioner, because I've been practicing since I was at law school, as a practitioner, I was tackling different issues. I was exposed to business law. And although in the academic side, I was always pursuing the constitutional law that I liked so much, I took my master degree on that. At some point later on after my master, I got the chance to be an internship at the diplomatic mission, at Brazilian diplomatic mission in Geneva, where I had the chance to work with the diplomats that were concerned with the settlement, the dispute settlement body at the World Trade Organization. And I was really young. I had just left law school, and it was really intense to see how divorced things were between the economic activities and human rights. And I just could not cope with that. It was really funny because as I talked to the diplomats, for me, it was so obvious that those were things that should be, together. I mean, if you were there at the WTO dealing with all this economic power, why not take the advantage of building international treaties, for instance, and just adding the human rights issue on that. And of course, I heard a lot that was so naive, that things didn't work that way, that this was not possible. And it took me years. It was like probably 10 years later when I had the chance to meet some very special people that were gathering together, and they were concerned about something that was just beginning to be called then the business and human rights area in law and in business school. And this was actually the turning point for me. So as you see, it took me years to actually find people that had the same concerns, and they were academic, but they were also practitioners, and they were all also business people. Like they were working on corporations or in corporations, and they were worried actually about how to make corporations do better in relation to all the stakeholders, people that get involved with them, and not only the shareholders, which was the previous view that everybody would have and everybody would defend. And as I started to talk to these people, to interact with them, I had the chance. Of course, I am at a university, so I had the chance to do some research with them, to work with them really closely. I began to understand there was more to my very small concerns like many years ago. And mostly, this turning point was really important for me to be where I am now, because nowadays, as you were mentioning, I am a professor at the graduate law program at PUCI, and nowadays I work only with business and human rights, trying to use the international frameworks that we have, sometimes also domestic frameworks, to enhance the way that the states will tackle problems, and just enhance the way that the states will try to communicate to corporations what is the best conduct that they should have in one side, and the other side, we are always concerned about the way that corporations also tackle their responsibilities. So we're always talking about what are the state's duties and what are the corporations' responsibilities regarding human rights. So I guess all this experience, first as a practitioner on business law and then coming closer to scholarship on human rights law, just gave me the tools to make this connection nowadays and try to explain people, and of course to explain the students what is it exactly that we are lacking today. Why are we talking so much about, well, expressions that I'm sure that everybody has heard, like ESG? Why are we talking so much about responsible business conduct? Why we've talked so much about corporate social responsibility, but still we see so many things going wrong, so many things that are really not working out for people on the ground. So I guess for starter, this is it.
Yes, great. Thank you very much for sharing with us all those experiences. But I just wanted to point for one thing in your speech, which is you mentioned tools that you have now, some tools to tackle those challenges. But what would you say about those tools for our audience? Which kind of tools do you think they would need to find their path? Because you have already find it. So, what would you say for them about the tools that they think that are necessary to go in this challenging world?
Yeah, I think this is an important question that the students should be asking themselves, because when you know where you want to go, even when you know where exactly you want to be in 5 or 10 years, there is another logic to think about what is it that it's required from you to actually get there. And I would say that for the corporate, for people who are trying to work on the corporate side, there's some tools that are really important nowadays, now that we're speaking so much about all this issue around environment and human rights. And we do have international frameworks that are not really known. And we also have this really hard time to incorporate some of the legislation that we already have, for instance, here in Brazil, and to incorporate them into this big framework of business and human rights and environmental rights. So the first thing I'll say, these are really technical tools, and unfortunately they are not taught at at law schools or business schools most of the time, because we are not really concerned about that. And so what the way I see it is that here in Brazil, we are being pressured, to try to integrate those questions, but the pressure will only hit people who are already in the market. This is why it's been so hard for these people to try to understand what's happening. And I feel like they might feel like a truck is just running over them, because they really don't have these tools that they should have had at the university, as it is happening some places abroad. So first of all, I think those are the technical tools and those are the ones that we'll be tackling here in this course at LIP. But also there are other tools that come with, enhancing your personal skills. And I know that this is the course that will also tackle those issues. So I think it's a mix of having the technical tools that you need to understand when you see the challenge, you need to place the challenge inside the right framework. I'm talking about in the legal framework, so you can really understand where you can go with that, what you should do, and how to tackle. Is it time for prevention? Is it time to redress? But then you also need those personal skills to actually find, the way to solve the problem, because we are always taught towards, we go to justice, we fight. The judiciary is the ultimate solution. And most cases, when we're thinking about how the economic activity deals with environmental and human rights issues, this is not going to be the good answer. It's not going to be the good answer for corporations, and it's not going to be the good answer for people on the ground. So there are personal skills that we need to develop in order to fine-tune our knowledge and just search for the right answer.
Okay, great. So seems that we are advising the future studying those subjects here at Law International Program. Thanks, Professor Daniele. And now I'd like to hear from Professor Persson, because we know, but they do not know already, that Professor Persson is a lawyer in Brazil and United States. And that's one of the main reasons that we call Professor, not just because of his technical competences, but especially because he has the possibilities to show us the difference between the advocacy in United States and in Brazil. When I had contact with this kind of advocacy, when I was doing my visiting scholar or even talking to lawyers in United States, I got very caught about this subject, about of the advocacy. Because here in Brazil, and Professor Heck, and Professor Daniele, here in Brazil, we used to study law in the law schools, but not advocacy. So this is another concept. How to be a lawyer, how to be a lawyer, which kind of tools, which kind of skills, competences would you have to develop? So, Professor Heck, could you tell us about, again, your career, your trajectory, and what would you say to this audience and to improve their their career and their future challenges? Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Professor Diaz. Good morning, Professor Pamplona. It's a really pleasure to be here today. Thank you very much for the invitation. And it's also a pleasure to share the stage with you, Professor Diaz and Professor Daniele too. And I would like to thank our audience today. They are the major reason that we are here, and congratulate them for being here on Saturday morning and listening to us with matters and situations that it would may be interesting for their careers, but it's not the perfect day to be listening to be in the classroom. So congratulations to all of them. First, I would like to make a disclosure. I'm a licensed lawyer in Brazil. In the United States, I'm an international foreign consultant. So I'm allowed to consult on an international contracts, and that's what I do most. And it's really interesting to talk a little bit about what I have been doing so far, because my background it's in business administration. So when I went to business school, and I always thought about being a consulting agent, especially in drafting contracts and celebrating contracts. I had my first experience going to Madrid with the company CEO. And when I got there with this room full of people, and we start talking about the contracts, and once they understood that I was not a lawyer, I was feeling a little bit put it aside. So even though that I had all the information about the business, which I think is one of the most important things that a lawyer nowadays needs to have, I wasn't able to participate in the way that I intended to. So after that, I went to my MBA in company management, which also gave me a lot of resource to understand a little bit more about mediation and negotiations. But something was still missing. And that was the time that I realized that was not enough. And I went to law school. And that was the major reason. Every time that I sat with company associates to talk about a contract, and when the lawyers were there and they knew that I wasn't a lawyer, I was like, well, I know he has his opinions, he's giving his everything that we need about to try to make this deal go on, but now we're gonna talk specific issues about the contract. And then when I understood that was not enough, so I went to law school seeking for that knowledge. And I had the great pleasure of meeting Professor João Bosco Lee at that time, and I was able to participate on the Vismut competition, which takes place in Vienna. And that's what we do most. We're talking about a contract and how you're going to be negotiating, drafting, and celebrating that contract when the dispute resolution method that was chosen for that competition was the mediation and arbitration. So that's where everything sparked, and I start working with it and having the chance of helping other people. It's very important to realize that one of the primary functions of the modern lawyer nowadays is to assist his client in in structuring the best possible business. So I think this is a situation that we will be able to understand that advocacy and lawyering nowadays, it's not as it used to be. The clients used to come to us with their problems, and we would do our best to help them to get a best result. But when you are on the consulting side of it, and where you need to optimize and maximize the results of your client. If you do not understand how the business and the object of the contract works, it will be really hard to help your client the best way possible. We have to understand that we need to make one of the most important things that lawyers are doing nowadays. It's helping the clients with the risk analysis, the ultimatum decision about what path and what are the options and what they're going to choose. There's no doubt that that's from our clients to make, but it is our position, it's our duty to let them know what are the options and what would be the risk analysis regarding that options. And this is something that we're a little bit a part of it. So having the background from business administration and the law degree really helped me to see the scenarios with a little bit more in an efficient way to help our customers with strategic sites that will help them do their business and keep their business going. So the way that we have to analyze the situations are not just as lawyers nowadays, but also as a business consultants, and that's one of the major keys to be successful in the international commercial law. Professor Diaz.
Great, thank you very much. I'd like here to reframe to thoughts, because you said about best possible business, to be a business consultant, and to make a risk analysis. So do you think in Brazil we do have those skills in law schools? Or if we do not have those skills in law schools, how could they improve their skills? And how important do you think they are? Because maybe someone could think, no, but I know a lot about civil procedure and civil law, and that's all for me. Why you were saying that those skills are important? Because you're saying about the American reality. So why is it I really like the idea of the study of lawyering, and I need to say that lawyering was my call when we started to think about business advocacy, because we do not have this concept as a topic of study in Brazil. So, what would you say to our students, to our lawyers, to our audience about the importance of in Brazil study business and risk analysis to find the best possible business for your client?
That's a very great question, Professor Diaz. From my understanding, the major difference from the U.S. lawyers to Brazilian lawyers, even though that the Brazilian lawyers are improving a lot, it's that they do their homework. They really do their homework. They do the due diligence. They understand they know everything about their clients. And if they are going into a contract, they know even more about the other party than they know about their clients itself. So that's something that I think there is still space to improve in Brazil, that every time that we go into a negotiation, every time that we're trying to get to help our clients maximize their results. And we need to do our homework. And doing our homework is not just studying what the company does, but we need to do full research, the conduct rules of the company, what are the parameters that they have in negotiations, and it's amazing. Every time that you sit with the American lawyers, they are so prepared. It's amazing. One of the first times that I had this situation, I thought myself, wow, these guys know more about the company that I work for than what I know. So this is something that we have to take into the consideration. And we're going to be talking about this a lot more during our classes, and how a little bit of the difference, how the U.S. legal system is working right now and the Brazilian legal system is working, and what are the actions, and what is going on nowadays with this scenario. Another situation that is important to stress is that we're being challenged every single day in our lives. We're being challenged that with more situations, and we need to improve our skills. So every time that we are learning, every time that we're trying to improve what we know, and especially in negotiations, something that we do every single day, every single moment, will help us in our career. I have no doubt about that. So it's going to be very interesting, and it's going to be an awesome opportunity to be able to share this kind of situations and real case scenarios with our students, so they will better understand the how important it is, the culture of difference that we have between in the legal system, and it will definitely help them in the future.
Professor Diaz, if I may.
Of course, I was just about to call you.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out the relevance of such a course, because these things that Professor Recky was mentioning, those are the things that they have no room in the law school here in Brazil. So that's the relevance of having the chance to actually work with professors with different backgrounds, and specifically like Professor Recky's background, that he has been into different scenarios, and to just for him to tell a student that it is relevant, and why it is relevant to understand the other part that it's entering into your client's contract. This is something that, I mean, for me, it was something that I could have taken so much advantage of if anybody would have told me this back there at law school. But it was just to point this out.
Yes, yeah. I think today, Professor Pamplona, the thing is, when we were at law school, and we won't say how long ago, when we were at law school, we didn't have so much access than they have. So when we got something, when we had access to something, we simply caught those things, and that's all. Today, I think the most important challenge is to choose, because they have a lot of access. So to choose what is important for them, what can help them in their future career. So I think this is our mission also in LEAP, because in LEAP we do have a mentoring, and you both are part of the mentoring program, and the mentor is someone who is much more experienced in that path, and can help the students to create their own path and to plan their career, their international or national careers. So I think it's one of the points which we could feel as relevant here. But now I'd like to put you both in dialogue, because I can see that Professor Pamplona's background is different from Professor Heck background, and I'd like to know, between human rights issue and corporate world, what you both can see in your different worlds, what you both can see, the points of contact between you both, your worlds, or you think you don't have points of contact, and Professor Heck works in corporate groups, and they they do not care, or care a little bit about human rights, and all those research that Professor Pamplona do. This is, I would say, they do not have impact in companies that Professor Reg works for. Could you make this dialogue between you both?
Do you mind if I start, Professor Daniele?
Go ahead, please.
So one of the major concerns that I have noticed lately with the companies boards is the compliance, and they are really worried about being compliant with human rights in environment and financial departments, because they understand now that they cannot afford to lose the credibility towards the international trade. So something that it's usual to see in the contract today is that the company, it's, if you are hiring a company in China or so, and they are not in compliance with your conduct rules, then you're going to seize the contract, and they're going to seek penalties to that company right away. And they don't want, and believe me, they don't want to taint their credibility towards compliance issues. So from my point of view, that they are very, very concerned about compliance. A lot, and the companies are also improving their concerns, and trying to do their best to be compliant with the international principles. And how do you see that from your end, Professor Daniele?
Well, I totally agree with you, Professor Hecky. I think that there is this concern regarding compliance, and this is a concern that actually, from my point of view, it's raised by many ends. I mean, we do have consumers that are actually asking corporations to, really show that they are tackling environmental and human rights issues. And of course, there is some discussion about the strength that consumers have on the long run, but we know that they exist. We just cannot really measure them, or we think that we cannot really measure them that well. But it's not only about consumers, it's also about investors. And I think this is one of the things that you were mentioning. I mean, investors nowadays, they are really looking into the corporate report system to try to find out what is it that they are doing exactly to tackle the impact, the actual impact that they might have on the different stakeholders. So it will be consumers, it will be the investors, but it would also be civil society in general, because corporations, they are I've seen that more and more they appear in different civil societies reports to including to the global system human rights protection the global human rights protection system, the UN system. So civil society has been really keen to point out when corporations are not doing their best. And not only this, but also states, right? Because the states also have a concern regarding what are the corporations' conduct, because they are the ones who are answering before the regional systems of human rights protection. So I just see that there's so much pressure into corporations for doing better regarding environment and human rights. So I think the issues are really, really very well connected nowadays. I don't think you can be a good practitioner inside a corporation if you just don't understand how human rights and how environmental legislation will impact the day-to-day life of the corporations. It's about contracts, but it's not only about contracts when you want to achieve something for your own business, but it's also contracts with the employees of your corporation. Is also the relation with the consumers, relation with the communities around the economic activity. And this is all really important to sustain an image. And image is also what brings money. And without money, corporations do not survive. So I guess this will all very well related nowadays.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah, I just wanted to take the chance here. Let me just make you another question, Professor Hecki. I was just thinking that what is exactly, in your point of view, the relevance for the corporate world to actually internalize, to bring on board someone that will understand all the mediation tools that you are going to share with your students during the course?
Well, to answer your question, I would like to say that you really need to have the approval and commitment from the board and the CEOs and the persons that have the power to sign and to make the decisions. If you don't have that commitment from the persons that are really in charge of the business, it will be very difficult to impose a compliance program inside the companies and to make them understand that in order for them to make business in the international trade, they need to comply with several different issues, and they have to be aware of the complexity and what will be at stake here. So something else that happens a lot is that they are really looking into to know a little bit more about who they are dealing with, know the compliance rules of the other company, and trying to understand the culture of the other company, giving a total transparency regarding the negotiations. We know that the international trade law, through conventions, models, laws, and other instruments, are the key areas of the commerce. But in regards to the transparency that we are talking about, if we check into the CISG, the Conventional Sales of International Goods, even the negotiation part is taken into consideration if you have any kind of disputes arising from the contract. So I understand that when you have a board and when you have company directors that are aware of everything that it's at stake, that they're going to be doing their best, and but you need to have their approval and you need to have their commitment in order to get the best results for everything that we are talking about regarding compliance, environment, and even labor rights.
Yeah, Yeah, we just, I feel that it's also our responsibility to make our students understand that they are going to be the responsible ones for the changing of the mindset of all those CEOs and CFOs in the future. Thank you.
And that's not sometimes the company's culture. It's very difficult to change. You have huge companies that are familiar with the familiar background that it's a real challenge for our students to be able to make the right persons to understand what is need to be done and what is needed to be in business nowadays.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Great. So it seems that it's not a kind of it's not a matter of choose to have those concerns. From now on, corporation have to have those concerns, and because of there's a pressure, a global pressure about those issues. So this is great. But I'd like also, I saw that you have also a background in arbitration. You mentioned mood, Professor Heck. You mentioned mood, and also Professor Pamplona has this background in mood competitions in human rights. Especially, but Professor Heck has mentioned also Professor Boscoli, which is a very friend of us at PUCPR. He's been our professor for many years, and so I would compliment Professor Boscoli. So, would you tell us, you both, the importance of those skills? The arbitration and mediation and negotiation skills in this future of the advocacy. Why lawyers should address the dispute resolutions not just for the judiciary, but also to arbitration or mediation or negotiation. How do you see this I would say this paths of resolution of conflict resolution in your careers? Thank you both.
Professor Daniele, would you like to start? Would you like me to start? It's fine with me.
Well, let me just say something here, because I've been of course I've been working with moods, but the mood competitions that I've been working with are related to human rights. But I'm just gonna say something briefly, because what I've seen is that even the mood competitions nowadays, they are actually not they are not facing or tackling only the duties of states anymore, but they're actually more and more pointing to the corporate side of it, which are the responsibilities that corporations have. So this is something that it's really telling, because when we are at mood competitions, we are worried about what will international courts tell states that states should do. But what we see now is that those courts, they are actually telling states, well, I'm going to condemn you here because of what you have not done regarding business conduct inside your country domestically. So it's really fun, it's been really fun to see that more and more we bring the corporation's conduct inside even human rights competitions, even human rights moods. So I just wanted to mention that, again, those are not divorced things at all. They're very much together. And courts, like the judiciary system, not only the judiciary, but other systems for solving problems that are state, like for instance, the OECD has its own regulation regarding how to settle those issues. But also, so I'm talking about judiciary, those state ones that are not judicial, and also the corporate tools, mechanisms to solve those issues. They are all really concerned about how environment, human rights, and economic activity, the needs of the economic activity, they all go together. So they are not divorced at all. And just another brief comment regarding your question, I would just say that, yes, more and more, and this is not my field, of course, this is why I'm speaking before Professor Reck, because I'm just, adding something very small here. But more and more, I see that those negotiation skills, they are needed in the day-to-day, problems that we face. Like when we do consultancy, it's really obvious that the needs of corporations, the needs of states, and the needs of communities, they're really different, and they depart from a different mind setting. And what Professor Recky was mentioning, that sometimes it's really hard to change this mind setting, it's very much true. But these are the tools that we want, our students to have. We want them to be able to assess what are the different needs, and to actually, through the negotiation skills that they're going to build, to actually bring them closer together to just, enhance the chances of a solution. That's it.
Professor Heck, just a sec. I just wanted to ask the audience to make questions, because we can receive them and we can tell you the questions. So I'd like to encourage the audience to make questions. Okay, sorry about interrupting you, and please go on.
Don't worry, Professor Diaz. I had the pleasure to be a Vismut student for 3 years. 2 years under the management of Professor Lee and Professor Fernando Breda Pessoa, which was an amazing experience. And another year when I was doing my LLM at University of Miami. And then I was able to participate 2 years as an assistant coach. And what I can tell our students here, that this is one of the best experience that you have, since it's a hands-on experience. You have to understand that rehearsing for the Vismut and talking about the case, trying to solve the problem, it's something that it's a lifetime experience. The rehearsal that you'll be doing and the times that you're going to be participating on a mock arbitration tribunal, there is nothing like it, and it's hard to believe that you're going to do as much and as many panels as you're going to be able to do it on a Vismut competition. So I encourage all our students to seek that opportunity if possible. And it was an amazing experience. Regarding your concern, we have to understand that we need to change a little bit our mindset, and we need to the contracts that I have been seeing, it's all, especially when we understand the American legal system, it's always about punishments. What is going to happen if somebody it's default into the contract? And we need to. It's going to be, at least for me, it's going to be much more sense if we start inducing a behavior based on incentives instead of punishments. So it would be a major change. It would be very interesting to see if we could start that process. We need to understand also that the companies, they want to be in business. They don't want to go into a contract. They want to go in long-term relationships. And if you start talking only about punishments, what will going to happen if you don't comply with the contract, and we don't start trying to change the way that we behave and the way that we see our contracts, especially trying to induce a behavior of incentives, it's going to be hard. It's even harder to get a contract to be signed, or to get a negotiation that will be a win-win situation for both for both of them. This is something that I've been talking for a long time, and this is something that we're going to be talking in our class in regards to what are the changes, what is needed for us to try to make a better mindset regarding negotiating our contracts from now on. Did I answer your question at all, Professor Diaz?
Yes, perfect. This is perfect. I think they can have the idea of daily life in a business or corporate world, because maybe entrepreneurs or corporate world, they do not want to be submitted to the judiciary as a whole, and they prefer to negotiate themselves, and the lawyers must be prepared for that. And there's something that maybe it's a little bit, I would say, not understandable for lawyers, some of them, but I think the win-win situation might be something new for some people, but we have to start understanding that the win-win situation. Okay, that you mentioned.
Just let me add something real quick here. One of the most interesting things about our mediation and arbitration, especially when we take into account international commercial trade system, is that people are really need to seek an alternative dispute resolution where they will be able to talk to the other party. If they go to the judiciary in their countries, they're going to have so many obstacles, that it's so many challenges, that sometimes will be not worth it to even seek any kind of remedy for that contract. So almost 99, I can say maybe a little bit less than that, especially when we're talking about China, which is one of the major players nowadays. 90% of all the contracts that are not involved in China, we are definitely seeing arbitration clause where people understand where they are putting their foot on. It's interesting to say that every time that you're playing a game and you don't know the rules, you're set to lose that game. So when you're talking about international business, different background, legal backgrounds, common law in US, civil law in Brazil, different system all around the world, different codes, you need uniformization where we'll give some opportunity for the parties that are involved to be a little bit more safe, to be on the safe side. And autonomy of the parties is one of the most important. It's very important here, and you'll be able to choose the seat of the arbitration, the law that is going to be applied, the language, and you're going to be able to choose even the rules of procedure and the rules for merits and substance, in which it's when parties feel a lot safer when they know exactly what they are getting into. And since arbitration in the United States now, it's something that we're going to be also discussing this. We have a different scenario in Brazil. Even though that it grew a lot, we're not as far as the US are regarding arbitration. It's so many different areas the arbitration are being used in US, but regarding international trade, there is no doubt that mediation arbitration will be one of the best ADRs, one of the best solutions that we have to help our clients if they get anything that they're not expecting during the contract.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And we do have some questions here, because I think we got interested in making questions. So people is also about to show up. Okay, it's important you to make those connections to talk to them, because we are here to interconnect. Okay, it's not just debate, but it's interconnection of minds. Okay, so there's a first question of Pedro Pires, which would be, I would like to make a question. How would an attorney enter on international market? The best option to enter on is a corporative environment. So how do they start, professors?
So,
Well, sorry.
please, go ahead.
Okay. So my position, it's the way I see things is from the human rights environment side. So let me just give you this answer, and I'll leave it to Professor Mbeki to tackle the corporate side. Of course, that if you get into a corporation that is searching for such a lawyer with the skills that could handle these specific issues that we've been talking about this morning, like how to make corporations answer better to the challenges presented by environment and human rights, this will be just perfect. You could go into a corporation and work with those issues. Nowadays, we do have all these specific sectors inside the corporations, like even the ES, some of them are creating like the ESG sectors or human rights sectors. This will be perfect. But if you take a look, and if you're more interested in actually enhancing the environmental and human rights concerns inside a corporation, or even regarding to the state conduct, there are many other things that you can do. If you want to go to the international market, you could start at an NGO, for instance. You could also work with consultancy. The United Nations has many different organisms, and they're always hiring people to actually help states to enhance communities' conditions and enhance the level of compliance with all the framework that we have related to the environment and human rights. So I would say that there are different things that you can do. But of course, that compliance today, it's a big issue, and it's growing. We really do not tackle this here in Brazilian legislation, but internationally, this is it's a hot issue nowadays. Not only because France already has a compliance legislation regarding human rights, but also UK, Australia, California, but also and mainly, the Netherlands also, but also because the European Union is just discussing now a new directive on human rights and environmental due diligence. And once this happens there, of course, it will impact everybody here in Latin America, because with globalization, we are all so much connected that whatever they need to comply with there in Europe, it will have its impact on corporations here also in Brazil. So I think there are many venues for the students who want, or the lawyers who want to launch an international career.
So if you're based in Brazil, you definitely have to seek companies that are in the international market, and also law office that works with the international commercial law. That would be the easiest way to be to work in an international market. But a lot of people ask me what are the best options in regards to try to work in the US with international commercial law. And from my point of view, I think it would be the best if you seek to do any kind of course or an LLM. And that LLM will give you the chance to do some subjects that will be required to take the bar exam. So let's say that you do an LLM in Florida and you have this specific requirements all checked out, and then you're gonna be able to go to do a bar exam in New York, and then you're gonna be allowed to go into federal courts. If you are working in mediation and arbitration in U.S., you don't necessarily need to have a bar exam. If you can seek the state bar and see what are the requirements to be a foreign international consultant, that's not even necessary, but would be something interesting if you're seeking a job here in the U.S. And there is only a few states that will not allow someone without a U.S. bar to participate on an arbitration, and that it's, of course, California. You have to understand that in U.S., we have the federal courts, the state courts, and we have 50 different states, but in regards to law, we have 50 different countries. So it's not, we don't have a uniformity like we have in Brazil, that you can have a bar, you can have your bar exam in São Paulo, and you can go all over Brazil practicing. You need to verify exactly what area of law you're going to be working with. And if that's one, and if that specific one, if you need the bar to go to the federal courts, and if you have to go to the state courts, you need to have a bar for that specific case. There's for that specific state. There's a few states that we won't recognize the bar from other states, but it's just a few. So one of the major questions here is, it's what do I want? You have to understand exactly what you want to seek. I want to work in a U.S. company, and I think I will do all my due diligence to understand a little bit more about Florida and what are the requirements. If any of our students need any kind of information, that I'll be more than glad to assist with what I know. Another source that if anybody seeks to do an LLM in the United States in the next few years, it's important to understand that all the universities, they have an international office that will help you with your resume to make a better, to make the American way style. And they will even help you with internships and all the any kind of job offers that they might have in your area. So that's going to be your major source. If you want to, let's say that you want to practice and you want to do and you want to work in the U.S., when you go to your LLM, the first day, the second day, don't hesitate to look for that international office that helps all the international students with their needs in regards to even the requirements to have it bar exam, or even the requirements to work in everything else. So major question here, it's what do I want? Where am I based? Am I based in Brazil? I'm going to take a path. I'm based in the U.S. or I want to be based in the U.S. and I would like to work and to exercise there. It's a different path scenario, but the major question is, what do I want?
Great. I think there's things that it's important to point out here. First of all, that it's not an international career doesn't mean that you have to live abroad. So you can have an international career living based or being based in your own country.
Sure.
For example, right now, Professor Daniele is in Oxford. She's doing research in Oxford. So she works in Brazil, she lives in Brazil, but now she's doing research in Oxford. So Professor Reck also lives in United States, but also have the office, the law office that he works also in Brazil. So that's why when Professor Reck says about what do you want to be based in Brazil or United States or internationally, you have to think about what's the best solution. And I'd like also to maybe translate for the ones who are not so familiar with those concepts, LLM, bar, and moods. I'll make a brief comment about that. The LLM is a kind of a master, professional master, that is, it's very addressed to foreign lawyers, because you have to be graduated already in law schools in your country, and then you go for 1 or 2 years of this LLM, which is I would say the enter of the common law system, and also to do, if you want, the bar examination. The bar means the OAB brasileira, but Professor Reck was explaining the difference, because in Brazil, of course, you can have state bars, but the legislation is unified. In the United States, no, that was exactly what he was saying, because if you take a bar in Florida, it's different from California, so you won't be able, unless you work on federal rules, on federal courts, to understand and to work in those states, not because they do not want you to, because you didn't do the bar in that state, but because the procedures are very different. That's the situation, and then you can complete my answer. And just to finish, moods are the mock trials. They are competitions. They are trials or simulated cases that students, just only for students, to go to international competitions to work on simulated cases. So they have moods in human rights and arbitration and mediation and taxation and so on and so forth. And everything that seems a lot for you, we can help you with mentorship. So that's why we're saying that mentorship is very important, because we have people who have already done this path and can help you to make the right choice. Just help you, not do the choice for you, okay? That's very important to say also. And we do have here, you can go on in these explanations if you want, Professor Reck, but we do have also a question here of Mauricio Andrade do Vale. He said that he wants to address a question for you, and he said, is there any prejudice about Brazilian law consultants in US? And he used the expression because of the jeitinho brasileiro. I'd like just to make a comment here. We are having this conversation, this chat, this event in English, because the whole course, the whole program is in English, because we do have international professors also that come to our LEAP program, but also because we want to challenge you to go further in your English language, in English, in legal English. So that's why we do this program 100% in English, okay? Considering we do have international professors, and also because we want to be challenged, okay? So he uses the expression jeitinho brasileiro. Do you think, is there any prejudice for Brazilian consultants, Professor?
Thank you for a question, Mr. Mauricio. Yeah, everybody, from one time to another, I have that same question popping up. And what I can tell our students and our audience that we are able to change that. Every time that we go to a meeting, that we show up on time. Every time that we go to a meeting, that we are prepared. Every time that we show respect. Every time that we show kindness, sympathy. That's the Brazilian way that I think that we have to show. Even though that if someone has a different point of view of our culture regarding the jeitinho, we're going to be able to show them with our acts that the way that we do things are the best way possible, that we are very dynamic people. One of the bad things about Brazilians are that they're dynamic. They know how to when they face challenge, they're going to pop up with different answers right away. And that's what we have to take advantage. Let's not concentrate on the things that they talk or they think that we are. If we do that every single time that we have the opportunity, we're going to be able to show them that we work hard and we're trying to help our clients as much as they want to do it. And remember, any you can think about any area that you may work. Safeguard your credibility, because at the end of the day, that's what you have. What Americans or Europeans, what they don't want us, it's talking about things that we're gonna be able to do it, to compromise. Don't tell people things that if you don't know exactly what date you're gonna be able to deliver it, if you don't know exactly the quality of your product, or you don't know exactly how to answer a question, ask for some time, but do not compromise in things that you're not able to do. That's one of, so what we really need to think to understand that at the end of the day, again, the credibility, it's all we have, and that's what we have to safeguard, and we have to do our best to put any kind of prejudice aside.
Yes, Professor, there's a word that I really like in English, which is commitment. And I think the success of, for example, the American culture is commitment. And I think what they expect from us is commitment also. And commitment has to do with respect, with to be in time, sharp in time, to deliver what you promise to do. So by doing that, we can face this prejudice, and we can overcome this. I think this is, as you can see,
we will have some very interesting case. We will have some very interesting case, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this because I have some different experience regarding this and how we're going to be able to overcome them.
Okay. So let's give them here just a teaser, and then they can see and they can know all the cases in the classes and live classes, because we are going to have classes with, first of all, the first course is with Professor Daniel Pamplona, which is obviously business and human rights, and then Professor Reck, which will talk about communication and negotiation skills. And then we're going to talk about another subject which is very interesting, and it's everything related. It's M&A, merger and acquisitions. And then we will have in the second semester, it's just 3 disciplines each semester. And the other one will be, the fourth one will be interview and counseling, lawyering skills. That's we were talking about. And also negotiating contracts and drafting contracts, international contracts. So it's everything related to build this different mindset about the advocacy, the business advocacy, to show you that there are other ways to do what we are doing. So I just wanted to tell people, because of our system, the breakdown of our system, you cannot access the lead page right now. We really hope that next week you can access the lead page, which is LIP PUCPR. It's very simple, LIP PUCPR. I don't know if we can. Yes, we can. Pedro, could you please write them, LIP PUCPR, on YouTube platform, please? And you can access the possibility to know more about our program, and also to enroll and to be part of this pioneering and innovative program that you today had the opportunity to see a little bit. So, do we have any more questions? I think we don't. So I'd like you both to say the last words to our students today, to our audience and future students today.
I'll go first. I just want to thank again Professor Dias for giving us the opportunity to be here. I hope we shared some information that was interesting and that actually made you all here just raise your interest regarding the course. To tell you that we do share some really updated information regarding business and human rights worldwide, but also in Brazil. The normative framework that we use in the course will not only be from the UN, the guiding principles on business and human rights, but also the OECD guidelines on multinationals. And we will be worried about different ways of tackling the issue from the state point of view, from the corporate point of view, but also from civil society's point of view. So I think it's a pretty comprehensive course, and I look forward to see you all there. Thank you.
I also like to thank Professor Dias for the opportunity and Professor Daniele for sharing the stage with them today, and for our audience for being here with us. I'd like to remember our students and our viewers that it's very important, in order to be a modern lawyer, that we work side to side with our clients to understand their business and to structure their business in the best way possible in order for them to achieve their results that they are looking for. And if we sometimes we have to be on their shoes to understand a little bit more, and that's one of the things that we have started doing. I understand that not everybody subscribes to the point of view that we are all salespersons, but in the end, I have to disagree with that, because during the day, we always have to persuade people buying our ideas, buying our service, our product, and this will be a very interesting opportunity for all of us to share. For me and the professors to share a little bit of the information that we have, and to have the students to be with us and understand a little bit more of the skills that are necessary to be in this competitive market that we're in, the challenge that we are facing right now. Negotiation will be always a top subject, and I really hope to see you guys soon. Thank you very much for everything. I'd like to wish a very safe and good weekend for all of our spectators today, and for Professor Dias and Professor Pompona. Thank you all, our crew that helped us to be here, during this inaugural class. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Stay
thank
safe.
you. Okay, thank you both. Yes, I think you always touch in those important issues, you and Professor Pamplona, about helping to structure the business. We do not have to be the ones who put some obstacles in the business because of the law framework. Our mindset has to be the one who will be aside the side by side the your clients to help them to make business and to be more wealthy. That's the main mindset that we have to understand to be good lawyers in the future. So again, I'd like also to thank our crew, Pedro and Mauro, that were here in the backstage, and also to make my compliments to Professor Pamplona, Professor Heck, that agreed to came here to accept this invitation to share a little bit of your knowledge and experiences for this important moment of our advocacy in Brazil and internationally. So it's a pleasure to have you always here. Thanks for being with us for this whole year in the Law International program. And I think it will be an amazing journey. I'm pretty sure about that. Even each year, we used to be more improved to deliver a good program to our students, and we are going to be better for you guys that decided to be on board with us, and we hope that Professor Pamplona and Professor Hag have pleasure to give classes in our course and to be with us in this year to accept this challenge. I mean, and what else? I'd like also to say again, if you want to reach out us, you have to go to PUCPR and to make the enrollment. The next class will start on Saturday 26th, which means next Saturday at 9 o'clock in our platform. We have our academic environment, and it will be in our platform. For today, have a wonderful weekend, you all. And now we have sun. We have a lot of rain, and now we have sun. So enjoy your weekend. Thank you again, and see you soon next Saturday in our LEAP program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Stay safe.
You too.